Please be seated. I think of all the human emotions I can imagine, anticipatory grief is the hardest to get your head around. I feel like anticipating a loss of something that is so important to you and not knowing what things are going to be after the loss and not knowing how things are going to go during the loss is just one of those things that human beings it stretches our ability to comprehend. That complex whirlwind of emotions when we're on the cusp of losing someone or somebody dear to us. It's the sorrow and grief that comes before the actual loss. And it's the kind of grief that Jesus and his disciples are feeling that night that we describe in our gospel today. They're on the threshold of this tremendous change. It's this pivotal moment, and it's filled with uncertainty and the palpable sense of an ending of something that's been so profound and so precious. They didn't know exactly what was coming, but they knew they had to say goodbye to what had been and what was. Our gospel for today invites us into that upper room with them, where Jesus shares one last meal, and with those he called his friends. Now imagine this scene. I always imagine this scene as kind of a stuffy room, kind of close, kind of hot, filled with the noise of conversation, the clinking of dishes, the warmth of the shared hospitality around a meal. But beneath this surface, there's a tension. There's an unspoken understanding that things are about to change, and a lot of anxiety about what that might be. Now, Jesus is fully aware of what's coming, and he chooses this moment not to despair, but for an act of profound love and service. He washes his disciples' feet, an act that embodies his teaching about love and about servanthood. It's a gesture that says, even in your darkest moments, even in your most human moments, even when you feel most alone, love can and should be your guiding light. Now, as our service ends, we'll remove all the beautiful things that inhabit the altar. And this stripping of the altar, I think, mirrors our vulnerability and the stripping away of the pretense that happened in that upper room. It's a powerful symbol of what Jesus is about to undergo, his own suffering, his own vulnerability, and ultimately his own death. I think it also speaks to us of the essence of love, which has to involve vulnerability, which has to involve the giving of ourselves, even when the future is uncertain and we don't know where it's going to lead us. In these acts and in these moments, Jesus teaches us that love is not primarily a feeling. It's a decision. It's an action. It's a commitment to stand with and for each other, especially in times of uncertainty and fear. It's washing each other's feet, either literally or metaphorically. It's listening to each other deeply. It's holding place for each other's joy and each other's sorrow. And it's choosing to love even when the cost is high. Tonight we remember Jesus' love for his disciples and his love for us, his disciples. And we're invited to reflect on how we can embody this love in our own life. How do we respond to this grief in our own hearts and in the lives of those around us? And we know that grief is so heavy right now. How do we strip away our own pretenses and our own protections to love more fully and more vulnerably? As we leave this space tonight, we leave it empty of the tools that we use to bring the love of Christ in a tangible way to each other week after week and year after year. But what we carry out of here with us is an awareness of the God-filled space within each of our hearts that can only be filled with God's love. Let's carry with us as we leave this image of Christ in the upper room, loving us to the very end, teaching us that even in the moment of our greatest challenges and our greatest failures as human, love can remain the most powerful act we can do. And as we continue on this journey toward the cross with Jesus, let us commit to loving each other as Jesus loved us, with openness, with humility, and with courage, no matter what tomorrow brings. Amen.